1800s, during the early years of professional baseball, there was a famous player named Edward Hanlon who played for the Detroit Wolverines and for the Pittsburgh Alleghenies. Although Hanlon played a few different positions, he was primarily a center fielder and was a popular baseball man in his day. He became more well known as manager of the world champion Baltimore Orioles in the mid-1890s, and again for the Brooklyn Superbas in 1899 and 1900. Because of his shrewd trade deals, knowledge of the rules, and playing tactics, he was later nicknamed Foxy Ned Hanlon. Edward Hanlon was the first child in his family to be born in the United States. His parents and two older brothers emigrated from Ireland in 1856 to escape the Great Famine. 30 years ago this week, in July of 1996, Ned was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, exactly 100 years after winning his third consecutive world championship with the Baltimore Orioles back in 1896. My name is Robert Saunders. I am the great-grandson of Baseball Hall of Famer Foxy Ned Hanlon. Ned's son was my grandfather on my mother's side. The relevance of this, although thin, is to provide context and a basis for recording this talk. If by chance you have seen the PBS TV program Antiques Roadshow, about 10 years ago, I was on the episode filmed in Orlando, Florida. The episode featured some of Ned's baseball memorabilia and ended up being the highlight of the show. Included were 5 historic items previously unknown to still exist. Ornately made lapel buttons given to Ned for each of 3 consecutive world championships with the Baltimore Orioles in 1894, 1895, and 1896. And from Charlie Ebbets and the other owners of the Brooklyn team, gold cufflinks formed into 2 baseball bats and balls, adorned with diamond chips, given to Ned for the second of 2 world championships in 1899 and 1900 with the Brooklyn Superbas, before they were known as the Dodgers. I brought the items to the show on a whim after a phone call to my mom about the keepsakes in her dresser and the fact that the Antique Roadshow was coming to town. The memorabilia ended up being a great surprise to this show's professional sports appraisers, because any such collectible objects from the old Baltimore Orioles were thought to have been destroyed in a massive fire at the historic Orioles Park on July 4th, 1944. Before the airing of that episode, nobody knew that these historic items were still in existence. The items had never been seen by anyone. Meanwhile, they were sitting in my mother's dresser for over 70 years inside a keepsake tin candy box. I wrote a book about the history of my great-grandfather's life and times, and for reasons stated above, the book is entitled The Candy Box, subtitled The Innings and Outings of Baseball Hall of Famer Edward Hugh Hanlon, Foxy Ned. Although, like the title, the book is long, it contains more than 400 images and many pictures throughout. The books are available for purchase. If interested, please send an email to robert@foxyned.com for further details. At this point, I plan to continue on a second segment with further specifics about the book's contents. Please continue to listen if you're interested. Thank you. The storyline spans 100 years of history from 1847 to 1947 and loosely follows the years of Ned's life as a book's trajectory. It weaves in and out of present day, incorporating the Antique Roadshow experience with flashbacks to significant historic events occurring during Ned's lifetime. While the primary purpose of writing the book was to introduce or maybe reintroduce my great-grandfather and make known his contributions to baseball, a portion of the motivation was to rejuvenate interest in the history which occurred during his lifetime. and not just baseball-related history. That being the case, I, as the author and organizer of this tome, I'm going to cursorily go over and through the entire book and cover a significant portion of the information therein, audibly and visually, in a series of episodes. The plan, loose though it may be, is to read and discuss contents of the book's chapters and frequently show corresponding pictures as featured throughout the book. In addition to baseball and some of its early history, other events covered in this discussion of the book will include the Great Irish Famine, Irish prejudice and immigration prejudice upon entering the United States, child labor, the Civil War, the spread of railroads, AT&T, Spalding's World Baseball Tour, players of the day, including John Montgomery Ward, Cap Anson, Willie Keeler, John McGraw, Connie Mack, Christy Mathewson, Jack Dunn, George Babe Ruth, and countless others. Also covered anecdotally, Mark Twain, Theodore Roosevelt, Archie Moonlight Graham, World War I, details of Theodore Roosevelt's and Ned's sons being killed during World War I in France. Also addressed is the antitrust lawsuit filed by Ned and the other owners of the Federal League's Baltimore Terrapins against the National League and American Leagues, as well as the individual team owners, which did not serve well in maintaining Ned's popularity. Although the Federal League Baltimore Terrapins won the case at the trial court level, the American and National Leagues appealed and the verdict was reversed. The case eventually made it to the United States Supreme Court, where the reversal was affirmed. In the opinion written by Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr., the case established lasting protection for Major League Baseball from monopoly restrictions otherwise prohibited by the Sherman Antitrust Act. Major League Baseball is the only professional sport in that legal position to this day. Many believe that Ned was shunned and shut out of the inside world of Major League Baseball and the Baseball Hall of Fame because of that case. Thus, it was not until 1996, a mere 100 years after Ned's third of 5 world championships, that he was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame by the Hall's Veterans Committee. I hope you tune in and enjoy the series of discussions about the book's chapters, and your questions and comments are welcomed. It would be great to hear from where you're listening and watching, and if you have any inquiries, send it to Robert at foxyned.com. Thanks, and have a good day.